Welcome back to Theory Hammer, my little conscript weirdo friends, where today we are going to be talking about a fictional tabletop game called Warhammer 40K. In that game, there's a race, and that race is called the Astra Militarum, or the Imperial Guard, which is what they're actually called. And today, we are going over their Tactica. If you guys like this kind of content, bring the Emperor's wrath to the like button, subscribe to Theory Hammer, leave a comment down below, hit Nurgle's bell, and then check out our other videos. This is going to be a series, so we're going to have more of these released throughout the next several weeks. So be sure to hit that bell. That way you're notified every time one of these drops. You guys like Russia in space? That's what you got with the Imperial Guard. Russia in space. It's a big horde army that brings a lot of tanks. That's what it does. That's how it plays the game. It's good at soaking up firepower, and it's good at outnumbering people on objectives. It's more, get up there and do shit kind of army. The Imperial Guard are another one of these armies that have a ton of different selections, and so you can play them in a lot of different ways. You can play them with a ton of infantry, you can play them with a ton of super heavies, you can play them as a tank column, you can just play mechanized, you can mix it, you can match it, you can scratch it, you can attach it. You can attach all the leaders to your squads. Your army rule is very, very good. It's your orders. So you have like move, 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 which is plus 3-inch move. You have take aim, that's gonna be +1 ballistic skill, not +1 to hit. You're gonna get like take cover, I think that's what that one's called. It's +1 save, get back in the fight. You got all kinds of cool stuff you can do, right? That's your army rule, so it's actually very, very useful. The drawback to it is that it's only something your captain guys can do. So like your commanders, anybody that's an HQ that has orders, they're the ones that issue these orders to your army, and it gives your army benefits. That's kind of how they've always worked. They've always kind of felt like a Marine army, like a United States Marine army. Like it's got a bunch of those different aspects to it. It's like Starship Troopers. You got all the different branches of the military, all getting in there, fighting the Xenos, blowing them up, shooting laser beams at them. It's a lot of fun. So that's a very good ability. They have really durable blobs of infantry that can do a lot of movement phase stuff, like with move, move, move. You can get them into places that they need to go, you can get them onto objectives, you can take up space, you can get in the way. Their blobs are nice, and they're cheap as well. So you can kind of overwhelm your opponent with just guys that take up space. They actually have very good shooting because of take aim, and overall they're hitting on 4s. A lot of their tanks have a lot of high strength guns. You have access to a large volume of good weapons. Overall, the Imperial Guard are a shooting army at their core. They do have a couple of close combat units. Some are better than others, but you can't really build a close combat Astra Militarum army. It just can't be done, guys, so don't try to do it. And so, because they're so good at shooting, because they can take up so much space, and because they can outnumber your opponents so heavily, they're actually pretty good, I think. They're good at a wide variety of things. They're good at playing the game very well, and they have access to a lot of units that help with secondaries. They have cheap expendable units. You can throw something on an objective, be like, cool, I got the points. It was like 50 points for that squad. It took you actually a little bit of firepower to kill it, because there was 10 bodies there that were in cover. You know, it was cool. They did a good job. Here's another unit of them. But they basically have no combat. They get overrun in combat and bogged down pretty easily, and their output is significantly reduced when they are in combat. Their detachment rule is another one that is dead on arrival, guys. It's fucking terrible. If they stay still, they can get lethal hits. And when your army rule only works when you do the worst possible thing, it's bad. Okay? The tricks that you're gonna see, though, are gonna be the Aquila. I think that's a Vect stratagem. You can do like -1 OC if you're battle shocked. It's like a little relic you can take. They don't really have any like tricks beyond some of their strats. They're a very straightforward army, which is appealing to a lot of people. There's not a lot of bookkeeping. There's not a lot of things you have to think about. It's just, do I have enough guys to take the objective? Do I have enough tanks to kill your tanks? Very straightforward stuff. You don't have to worry about getting into combat too much because you're not really going into combat. So in that way, you kind of play like Tau, where you're only moving and shooting, but unlike Tau, you have way more guys, and you can kind of threat overload with those things. And just in general, your army just plays completely differently than Tau. Another annoying thing that they can do, a little trick to their army, something that's caught me off guard, even though I know about it, it's like Overwatch. You never expect it, even though you do it every turn to your opponent. And that would be that they have reinforcements. If you kill one of the regiment units, you're like, oh, I gotta kill this unit of 20 Deathcore guys that are on this objective with Norc Dead Dog in the unit, and they have a Feel No Pain and 4 Pinfold. And it's like, I put 30 Flamers into them, and I got them. And then your opponent's like, 2 CP, reinforcements, bringing them back. And you're like, fuck! It's one of those moments. And then one of the other things they can do is make their tanks very durable, especially something like a Dorn with -1 damage. Even a Baneblade with -1 damage, or at a Baneblade equivalent, something that's better than a Baneblade. -1 damage, baby. Have fun getting through toughness 13, 4-up invuln from a Tech Priest, and a 2-up save, and then -1 damage. Can it be done? You tell me in the comments down below. So that's how the army plays. Very shooty, decent movement, good spread of units. You can build armies in a lot of different ways. You're mainly going to be shooting, not a whole lot of combat. You're going to overwhelm your opponent, you're going to outnumber them. Your quality of shots on your guys isn't going to be great, but it's going to be enough. The main damage in your army is going to be from your tanks, a lot more durable than other armies' tanks with toughness 11, 13 wounds, and a 2-up save on their like main battle tanks. That's how the army rolls, baby. Pun intended. All right, so why don't we take a look at some of the Imperial Guard enhancements and stratagems, just so we can kind of wrap our brain around what this army is doing here. So we already know about reinforcements, because reinforcements is great. You get to bring a unit back for 2 CP as long as it has the regiment keyword. You just do it in any phase. It's awesome. Fields of Fire is an interesting one. It's 2 CP, and it gives you +1 AP against the unit that you target, basically. It's not exactly how it's worded, but you pick a unit, you shoot a unit, you pick a unit that you shot at, anything else that shoots at it gets +1 AP. You can then use suppression fire on somebody, which is fine. You basically pick a unit of yours, pick an enemy unit. If you get any hits on them, then that unit is -1 to hit you. So not great, but what else are you gonna do with your CP? Like Overwatch or something? And so the next one is Expert Bombards. For this one to work, you have a Voxcaster guy, and then he just picks an enemy unit that's visible. Any of your indirect stuff that's not battle shocked, if you shoot at that same enemy unit, you're +1 to your hit roll, so you basically get heavy. Inspired Command is interesting. This is a 1 CP strat that lets you do an order in your opponent's command phase. So like fix bayonets, +1 melee weapon, take cover, just get +1 save, improve your objective control. That's probably the best one. So that's a stratagem that you have. And I also mentioned this one earlier with Armored Might, 2 CP. This is going to make your vehicles -1 to their damage. A lot of their stratagems are 2 CP for some reason. In fact, half of them are. I never actually noticed that until this point. Now, something that is interesting, Armored Might does affect your entire unit. It is not just one vehicle model. It is one vehicle unit, which is probably why it's 2 CP. And the fact that you can put this on a super heavy, that's pretty good. But what kind of enhancements do we got here? Well, we got that Death Mask. It's an officer thing if he's leading the unit. Instead of changing your OC to 0, you change it to 1 instead, like if you're battle shocked. So that's kind of mid, right? Am I crazy? It's 10 points, it's cheap. Maybe it's not as bad as I'm thinking. Kuav's Aquila lets you vect your opponent. So once per battle, after your opponent uses their best stratagem, as long as it's battle tactics, you're like, hey, that's gonna cost 1 more for the rest of the game. Now, Grand Strategist, like most of the best enhancements for every single index, is one of the cheapest ones and one of the best ones. It lets your officer issue an additional order for 15 points. Like, in what world are you not gonna take that? Your Russian officers that need to tell their very poor conscripted infantrymen, hey, I need you to get back in the fight, go out there and go kill stuff, because if you try to retreat, we're gonna shoot you in the face. We are totally Russia in space. But that's what that does. So it's a great upgrade, and you should definitely take that. It's an auto take in my opinion. That and the Kuav's Aquila, save 55 points, put those on some characters. The Aquila isn't an auto take, but the Strategist is. Although the Aquila is really, really nice to have, unless you're taking an assassin, in which case you could actually get it twice. And I think you could probably use it on the same stratagem. That'd be funny. So your opponent's like, yo, I'm gonna use this strat. And you're like, okay, it costs 2 next time you use it. And then they use it again in like their turn, because it's one they're gonna use every turn. And then you're like, cool, now it costs 3. and then they can't use it ever again. Am I actually crazy to have this hot take that those kind of abilities aren't that great because a lot of things allow you to use stratagems for free? And that does it for their enhancements. So overall, kind of not great, right? Actually not great. But the ones that you do have are pretty useful, and who knows, maybe you can get really good with guard and really know when to use the stratagems right at the right time and sort of trip people up with them. You look at somebody's unit and go, you know what, that could use suppression fire. And you do it, and they're like, damn, I'm -1 to hit. I was hitting on 4s, and now I'm hitting on 5s. That's not great. Or you do inspired command in their turn. You're like, hey, I'm gonna make that my OC more than yours. Now I control the objective and you don't. So there's some cool little things you can do there. Now let's move. Let's move. And that, I think, brings me to the end. It actually doesn't, probably. But I'll just put it in there anyway. And that's how you play Russia in space. And that is what the Russians in space do. You know, they even have commissars. They're fucking terrible. That's why they were on the list in the first place. But yeah, these guys have commissars. And yeah, they literally shoot you if you run away. They will shoot and kill their own men. You can't do this anymore, but they used to have conscripts, like literal conscripts, that were just people from the Imperium. They would conscript and make them go fight the Tyranids and stuff like that. And then you had the penal legions. Those were pretty cool, which most of the time conscripts would probably actually be penal legions. So you just have a bunch of criminals who were sentenced to death anyway, just fighting for the Emperor, getting shot in the face if they run away. Starship Trooper Russia in Space Army. Now, they have a whole bunch of units that are really good. We're going to start with the Lord Solar. 125 points. Gives out 3 orders. He can order anything. So normally, your officers can only order regiment units or Tempested. Like, it'll say what they can order. Lord Solar is just Astra Militarum units. He can order 3 of them to do stuff. So that's a really good upgrade from like a Castalin. He can also redeploy 3 units after deployment happens. So if you deploy really stupidly on purpose to fuck up your opponent's deployment, you can then reposition the things that you positioned stupidly and put them where they're supposed to be. He also gives you a command point in the command phase if he's on the battlefield. So pretty good. He can attach to big blobs of guys and keep him relatively safe. I see this guy in just about every list just because he's so good with his orders. He's like 3 Castalins in 1. I think they can only do 1 order. Maybe they can do 2. And he's actually who we're going to go into next anyway. It is only 1 that he can do. He's 45 points. So this is the Castalin. He's just an officer guy that you can stick in a unit, gives them sustained hits on their guns, gives them fall back and shoot. So he's pretty good. I don't really think I'll see very many of him. I put him on the list just because he's like your main captain guy, but you probably won't see him very often. You'll probably see things like the Lord and command squads because they're a little bit better. And so let's talk about command squads. You get 5 guys, 1 of which is an officer, for 60 points. They've got a variety of upgrades. You can give them like melta guns, plasma guns, all that shit. I think you can even give them a heavy weapon. But they can give orders up to 24 inches away, and they also give their unit a 6-up feel no pain with the medic. So that, I usually see those in blobs, because now your blob has a 6-up feel no pain. You're probably going to combine that with some other buff, like probably a 4-up invuln. And then with take cover, you're now going from a 5-up save to a 4-up save. In cover, you're on a 3-up save. So you can actually get your blobs to be relatively durable for the points that you're paying for them. It's just that you're investing more points into them with these characters and stuff to keep them alive. So it's a little bit of a give and take, and you have to really know, is 60 points too many? Is 45 for the Castalin too many? You got to make those decisions when you're building your army list. Another one will be the Deathcore Marshall. He's also 60 points, but he just straight gives the unit he's with a 5-up feel no pain. So if you put this guy with whatever unit you want, he can lead all 3 squads, and then also put a Primaris Psyker in that unit, you're now going to have a 3-up armor save with take cover, you're going to have a 4-up invulnerable save from the Psyker, and you're going to have a 5-up feel no pain from this guy. Getting through that unit is going to be difficult. You're not going to be able to deep strike a squad of Grey Knights down with 40 Stormbolters and expect to kill this unit. You'll probably kill like 5 of them. And if that weren't enough, the meta pack that you can take in a Deathcore squad allows you to regenerate 3 D3 dead guys. The Deathcore squads are probably my favorite, so they get +1 to hit if they're below starting, +1 to wound if they're below half. 130 points for 20. You get D3 models back every turn. You can take 2 meltas, 2 flamers, or 2 meltas, 2 nades, and 2 plasma guns. And like I said, annoyingly durable. 3-up save, 4 up invuln, 5 up feel no pain, 20 bodies. It's just a lot to churn through for 130 points plus characters. It's a lot to get through, and you can bring them back with a strat. So when you do finally churn through that unit, they just come back on the table next turn, and you're like, why? Why did I waste my time? So they're gonna be rocking around the Christmas tree with your infantry squads. And that's gonna form the core of a lot of your infantry squads is Primaris Psychers, Command Squads, Lord Solar, probably a Deathcore Marshall. Now, if you actually wanna put some other units in your army that can do some secondary stuff, well, that's where your Sentinels come in, and a few other things, but Sentinels are what we're gonna talk about first. They're only 60 points. They scout 9, they have the regiment keyword. So when you finally take out this squad of stupid Sentinels, you can bring them all back to life with missiles and everything. They all can have missiles, a las cannon, and an okay combat weapon. It's like strength 6 AP 1 damage 1, but hits on 4s or 3 attacks, something like that. It's okay. It's not great, but it'll do some wounds here and there. The thing about these is their durability. For the 60 points, you're getting toughness 7, 7 wounds, and a 3 up save. With scout 9 inches, big ass bases, 2-inch coherency, it's actually a pretty big wall that you can move up turn 1, get in someone's way, and be like, I'm Jesus, and now I'm going to resurrect because I have the regiment keyword. So I really like Sentinels. I think a unit of 3 is an auto-include in every single Imperial Guard army. The Armored Sentinels are probably a close second. I almost dropped them from the list, but they're 70 points. They got a 2-up save and a toughness of 8. Same 7 wounds, and only a movement of 8 instead of 10, but still, that's a pretty good 70-point body. You know what I'm saying? T8 and a 2-up. That's hard to get through. It's got a las cannon, it's got a missile, it's got the regiment keyword. It also rerolls wounds when it shoots at tanks and monsters, so you give these things take aim, they hit on 3s, cool stuff, 2 of them hit, rerolling wounds against monsters, probably 2 wounds, it's strength 12, right? Cool. That's reliably 2 las cannons that got through. If you shot your missiles that same turn, that's also going to be probably 1 or 2 missile wounds as well. They are more expensive, and I don't know. I don't think I would run them in a competitive list, but you might see them in some try-hard competitive lists because they are pretty good. They're 210 points. You can just continually bring them back, and as long as your army's built to do something like that, I could see that being very, very annoying for your opponent. As long as you're not bringing back infantry squads. In a perfect world, indirect stuff would be good. It's not good. Guard have a lot of indirect stuff. One of their okay indirect shooting units is going to be the Manticore. It's 150 points, so it is right at that cusp of being a little bit too many points, but it rerolls hits if it's shooting units of 5 or more. It's D6 plus 1 shots, it's strength 10, it's AP 2, it's a flat 3 damage. It's a nice backfield unit with indirect, and it's generally pretty cheap. It's tougher than it needs to be. It's T10 at 11 wounds. I think what's better though is probably the Basilisk. The Basilisk is only 135 points. It slows units, so it's not meant to do damage. It should. It's got a huge gun. It's got a fucking Gustav cannon on it from like World War II, and it's strength 8, AP 2, damage 2. It is D6 plus 3 shots with blast, but let's be real, folks. That's gonna do like 1 wound on something. It's gonna get 2 damage through. It's there to slow things down. But doing that from behind cover, from behind a point where you're safe, it's a very valuable asset to have, especially against armies that like to move a lot, ones that are very mobile. You hit them, they're -2 to their move, they're -2 to their charge, and their advance. So overall, for 135 points for some accidental damage that will also make you slower, I think is a great, great unit. Now, I somehow missed the Primaris Psyker when I was talking about the character units. This guy is 60 points. He gives his unit that 4-up invuln in your opponent's shooting phase on a 2+. So as long as you don't roll that 1, your unit's gonna have a 4-up invuln, and it just adds a ton of durability to a 20-man unit. Like 60 points for a 4-up invuln? Give that to me all day long. The engine Sear is also really, really good. He doesn't give you a 4-up invuln for your unit, but he gives your vehicle a 4-up invuln. So he repairs you for D3, and then you get a 4-up invuln. He's only 45 points. And he's a lone op if he's near vehicles, so as long as you're not exploding on his face, he's just gonna sit back there, repair stuff, and give it a 4-up invuln. So I love the engine Sear. You should too. Give him a whirl, see how he does for you. You could maybe even justify just taking like just Primaris Psychers and Deathcore Marshalls for a 5-up Feel No Pain. 120 points, 2 characters, one gives an order, gives your whole unit a 4-up Feel No Pain, gives your whole unit a 4-up Invuln, and a 5-up Feel No Pain. There's probably better options out there, but he is definitely something you're gonna see at least one of, probably in almost every list. And then same with the Engine Sear. You will see him in every single list that has vehicles, in my opinion. Somebody found 45 points for him in a vehicle-heavy army, you're gonna see him. Something you probably won't see that often, but are actually pretty good, are the Ogan. They're 130 points for 6. They're toughness 6 with 3 wounds, and they have a 6-up Feel No Pain. So they're pretty good at shooting for their cost because they come with what is effectively a heavy bolter, but only with an 18-inch range. So it's 3 shots, strength 5, AP 1, damage 2. They get +1 to their AP if they shoot the closest target, and these things are rapid fire 3. So if you're within 9 inches, they're getting 6 shots apiece. You're getting 36 shots out of this unit. Put them in a Chimera, shoot a couple guys out of it, get them out, blast the unit away, be a durable unit on an objective, and call it a day. That's what this unit does. So it plays a lot differently than a lot of the other guard stuff because it is a small unit of tough guys instead of a big unit of not tough guys. But again, at 130 points, I mean, how can you go wrong with that? They're 20 points apiece. Well, closer to 22. But still, a Tomb Blade is 25, and that's a good unit. Borren are their big brothers. These guys are 160 points for a better profile. They're T6 with a 4+ save and a 6-up Feel No Pain. They have an inbuilt -1 damage though, so they're actually quite tanky, and you can give them a 4-up Invuln. Like, I'm sold. I don't even care if they do damage. I'll take them. Toughness 6, 3 wounds, 6-up Feel No Pain, -1 damage, 4-up Invuln, 160 points for 6. Sign me up. They play the game really well. They can get on objectives, they can stand there and be durable, and they'll smack you in combat. They're strength 7, AP 1, damage 2 with 4 attacks apiece, hitting on 3s. So they're no slouches, they don't do a whole ton of damage, they're not gonna be flipping over Land Raiders or anything like that. But if you charge something into them that doesn't like getting hit back by damage 2, AP 1 with a ton of volume, then you're in a good spot. And a lot of things are gonna bounce off of these. 2 damage attacks become 1. 3 of them need to go through in order for you to kill one. They also have a 6-up Feel No Pain. So out of those 3 that went through, you have a 50% chance of making a 6 and needing a 4th one to go through just to kill 1. And that's after you've failed your 4-up Invuln. So you've had to do like 8 wounds to this thing with 2 damage weapons. I failed 4. I made a 6-up Feel No Pain, only took 3 wounds and you killed 1. So it's really easy for the unit to become a lot more durable than it's supposed to be with that 4-up Invuln. So it turns out, as I was writing this video, that there's a lot of characters that I completely forgot to include in the beginning. So whatever, we're doing this off the cuff anyway. The next one up is Striken. He's only 55 points. He's got Scout 6 and 6 attacks at Strength 6, AP 2, and 2 damage with Anti-Monster 4+. He orders people. He leads Catachans. He gives them lethal hits, which counts for himself, and he rerolls hits and wounds if he charges. So if you put like a Preacher with this guy, I think the Preacher gives them like lethal hits or sustained hits, or he gives them something like that. You can have a unit of Catachan with Strachan that like actually kind of hit like tanks in combat. You can probably do other stuff too, like putting Bodyguard in the unit or something like that to make it so that their unit becomes real big and beefy, and you can get some extra damage in there that way. But he's great. He's not super great just because he can only lead Catachans. If he could lead other things, he would definitely add some combat punch to those units. But for what he is and for what he does in the right build, he is definitely going to smack people. He's going to catch people off guard with the amount of damage that he can do with 6 attacks hitting on 3s, real hits and wounds, with Anti-Monster 4+. So he can actually go up to a tank and fuck it up. So I like Striken a lot. He's always been a really cool model. He is the actual Rambo of the Imperial Guard, not Marbo. Strachan would rip Marbo's fucking spine out through his ass. And so would Norc Dead Dog, because Norc Dead Dog is hilariously durable. He's 60 points. He's got a 6 wounds, toughness 6, and a 5-up Feel No Pain. He's got a 4-up save, so when you take cover, he's got a 3-up save. The other thing that's nice about him is that he is not a character, and so you can tank wounds on him. He's just really funny. Oh, you got a ton of blast weapons? Oh, you got a ton of flamers? Oh, I just took 20 wounds? No problem. This guy's got a 3-up save. Here's 20 wounds. All right, I failed 6 of them. Here's my feel no pain. I took 4 wounds, I got 2 left. Pretty good for 60 points. At first, I thought you could bring him back to life with the Metapack guy from the Deathcore squad, but it specifically says that you can only bring back Deathcore troopers, because that would be hilarious if you could bring this guy back to life with that. But I guess Games Workshop saw past my bullshit there and decided that it would be too overpowered. Another character that we're going to mention is Creed. She is 55 points. She has that captain strat ability, so you can like target a unit, you know, and it gets to do a free strat, even if you already used it. She gets to pick a unit within 12 to do that with, and she also has 2 orders. So for only being 55 points, for having the captain ability, for having 2 orders, they're still regiment, so she can't order tanks. But for 55 points, she's just miles and miles ahead of Acadie and Castalin. In addition to that, her unit can have 2 orders on them at the same time. So you can be doing move, 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 and take aim, or move, 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 and take cover, or take cover and take aim, etc., etc. So she's really good. I think she's also an auto-include, because she really helps your army play better, and just for being so cheap, damn is she good. You're also going to see Cadens, just plain old Cadens, and the reason you're going to see Cadens is because they have sticky objectives. They're 120 points for 20. So 6 points apiece. Sticky objectives, probably take them in units of 10, a couple of them in the backfield, and just have at it. Maybe keep one in reserve so you can bring it on, hop on an objective, and just make it sticky. I like Cadens a lot. They're not going to put out a whole lot of damage, and I don't think that they're all that great to attach characters to, particularly. But I think that they're an auto-include unit in your army list because you're always going to need sticky objectives if you have access to it, at least for most armies. Scions are another interesting unit that you have access to. These are a much more elite unit. They're 110 points for 10 of them. They can deep strike, and you can reroll hits if you're on an objective. So that's awesome. So if you deep strike down onto that objective and try to blow something away, you're re-rolling hits, and they can take 4 different special weapons. You can take like 2 melta guns, 2 plasma guns. You can take hot shot volley guns, which are an interesting little anti-infantry weapon. And they are a regiment unit as well, so you can bring these guys back to life, put them into reserve, and then deep strike a new unit down because they have that deep strike ability. 110 points, it's hard to justify 2 CP to bringing them back, but they're hitting on 3s with those 4 special weapons, so they're hitting on 2s when you take aim. They can actually do a significant amount of damage for their points, so the fact that they can come back to life is actually pretty good. Marbo is on the list for one reason, and that's because he's a lone op. That's it. He's decent at doing secondaries, he can jump around the board, you can keep him in strategic reserve, you put him, you know, he's okay. But other than that, he's fucking garbage. And if you don't have the points for him, just don't take him. You have other options in the codex that are going to be better, like Ratlings. Ratlings are infiltrators for 60 points. So as always, anything that has infiltrators, as long as it's cheap enough, is a great unit. It's great for doing secondaries, it's great for making walls. Those 2 things are ways that you can easily win games. When you can prevent your opponent from moving on to an objective, that stops them from getting those points. It stops them from being in that area. It allows you to move into areas where they're not going to be able to see you then. There's a lot of benefits to being able to wall people off. It's an entire video that I'm going to make because I've been doing it since 5th edition, and only really now are content creators making videos describing it and how important it is to use these types of strategies in your game. So Ratlings infiltrate, they got sniper rifles, they're just going to get in your way and they're going to die. That's all that they're there for. At 60 points, they're a little expensive, but I'll pay that premium for infiltrate all day long, especially if it's something like a 5-man unit that I can just stick in your face and just be like, it's in your way, gotta go around, road closed. Now, Karshkins are a weird unit. Kashrkins, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but they are kind of like Scions. They don't have deep strike. Instead, they have scout 6 inches. 100 points for 10. They're good, and they're on my list, as you have probably guessed, because they have scout. Anything with scout is generally going to be on my list of good units and things that you're going to see in competitive play, because those types of abilities are ones that help win games. These guys, for a unit of 10, you get lots of special weapons. You get 6 per unit plus a pistol. 6. So you got access to flamers, grenades, volley guns, melta guns, plasma guns, all that normal stuff you're gonna see. But one guy can also take a marksman rifle, and a 6th guy can also take a melta mine. And then you have your sergeant guy who's gonna have a pistol and a sword, and it's all free, and it should just be on his fucking data sheet. But that's what this unit does. So that's actually pretty good, because if you can scout a unit like that up and you get to go first, even if you don't get to go first, but even if you do get to go first, you get that scout 6, you probably move these guys, and then you also give them take aim. Oh, but wait, you can't do both. You can actually on this unit. They can actually pick an order. They don't have to have it cast on them or whatever. You just pick an order, they get it. So they're like, cool, I'm gonna get take aim. And your captain over here is like, cool, you're also gonna run fast. So you're gonna scout 6, you're gonna move 9, you're gonna unload at BS2. And that's kind of what the unit does. It does also have the regiment keyword. It also has the grenades keyword, which a lot of units probably do, and I've completely missed that at this point. But you can throw grenades with these guys, and if you really need to, you can bring them back. But you probably won't. They're probably up to, just to get scout, turn 1, fuck your face kind of stuff going on. If they had deep strike, they would definitely be a better target for the regiment, for the reinforcements thing, but with the scout 6 inches, it's not doing you much after they're dead. There are more, folks. There are so many more. There's actually not that many more. There's only a couple of more. The tank commander is the next one. At 205 points, this guy is a little bit more expensive than a normal Leman Russ. He can take whatever gun he wants on top. They're all the same points. He can also issue orders, but he can only issue the orders to a squad unit within 12. So I think that's only other tanks and maybe Sentinels. They can also shoot on death. So I've had this happen to me where I'm like, I'm gonna need to kill this Demolisher. It's fucking me up. It needs to die. And I'm like, all right, Demolisher's dead. And then Demolisher was like, that's cool. I'm gonna shoot you now. And I'm like, what do you mean you're gonna shoot me now? Like, you have a strat for that or something? Because I didn't fucking ask, because I'm a terrible player. And he's like, nah, it just does it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, and it counts as full wounds. I'm like, oh, bet. I guess I'm gonna lose my entire unit of whatever you're shooting at now. Thankfully, I didn't. He was shooting at battle suits from Tau, and he rolled bad. So we survived, but that's a very scary ability. You're like, I need to kill this tank commander, and I'm gonna do it in my turn. And then you go, oh wait, but then it's gonna shoot me in my turn at full wounds with all of its guns. That's a problem, because it's probably also overwatched me. So, pretty good unit. It's just a better Russ. They're T11, 13 wounds with a 2-up save. Like, they're not easy to chew through. And that's what they do. You're gonna see them on the table. They're pretty good for 200 points. Now, some non-tank commander ones, like the Exterminator, are really, really good. It's 180 points, same profile, toughness 11, 13 wounds, 2-up save. I think they move 10. It's on screen. What this thing does, though, is it gives you +1 AP against the target that it shoots at. Its gun is also actually pretty good, except for the fact that it's AP 1. But it's 8 shots at 24, because it's rapid fire 4, with 4 shots normally. So 8 shots within 24. It's a twin-linked autocannon, so it's strength 9, AP 1, flat damage 3. But with the twin-linked, and with the extra 4 shots, that's actually a decent amount of hits and wounds, and as long as you're not fighting Space Marines with a 2-up save, you're gonna actually start putting damage through on stuff with that. I actually think the Exterminator is one of the better Leman Russes for its point cost, durability, and its weaponry. Because now if you really need to, like if you have 2 more of them for some reason, you go and shoot those other 2 at that same target as the first one, well now they're AP 2, like now they're actually able to get through your armor a little bit better, and they're 3 damage flat. Because they're twin-linked, they're actually gonna start putting damage through on things. So great unit. You'll see Exterminators on the table for sure. You'll probably see Demolishers as well. They are 200 points. They have a really strong gun. It's strength 14, it's AP 3, and it is D6 damage. The other thing that makes this thing kind of annoying is that if you do get into combat with it, with your whatever unit, it's like, I have a siege shield, I can shoot at you in combat. So, and I'm not -1 to hit. So don't get into combat with it, don't kill it. If it's a tank commander, just ignore it or something. I don't really know what to do about that thing, but all joking aside, it is a really good unit, and you should definitely take the one if you're playing Imperial Guard. I would definitely recommend at least taking one of them. And if you're not gonna take one of them, take it as the tank commander at least. That way it can shoot back at full wounds, because that is just so dirty. The Chimera is gonna be our next pick here. This is a great unit for mechanized armies. You can stick things inside of them, like Ogan, for example. Put Ogan in here, drive it up the table, jump them out, shoot stuff with their Ogan guns. They're only a 70-point transport. They're durable enough. You know, two dudes can shoot out, they transport 12 guys. What more do you want? It's less points than a Rhino. It's the same durability as a Rhino. It's basically the same thing as a Rhino. It just has more guns than a Rhino does. So I guess in a lot of ways, it's actually just better than a Rhino, which is a really good vehicle. The problem is that you're playing Imperial Guard and you don't have any like things that want to go in transports really. There are some interesting builds you can do, kind of as a side note, with big transports, like with some of the super heavies, where you can just stick tons of guys inside, like tons of Ogrins, and they can all shoot out. So you can just like drive this thing towards someone, give it take aim, and just be like 100 strength 5 AP1 shots, goodbye. Unfortunately, it's a terrible army because you're probably spending 800 or more points on whatever I just described. But hey, somebody's done it. Another tank that I would like to discuss, and you knew it was coming, is the Rogaldorn. This thing is 260 points for toughness 12, 2-up save, and 18 wounds. Oh, how my Land Raiders should have 18 wounds. But alas, this thing has a ton of guns. It's got like a Castigator gun, it's got a heavy stubber, like 4 of those probably, it's got a battle cannon, it's got like 4 multi-meltas, it's got a partridge in a pear tree too. But it really does have a lot of guns. It's gonna have its main gun, which is either a battle cannon or some other like auto cannon like type thing, but a lot stronger than an actual auto cannon. So I'll just tell you what it is, right? It's strength 12 AP2 and 3 damage flat, D6 plus 3 shots. Its little other gun kind of beneath it is going to be a pulverizer cannon most of the time. That's strength 9 AP3 and a flat 3 damage with D6 shots. It will have 2 multi-meltas. It will have a heavy stubber, and it will have 2 melta-guns. And that is what it's going to run at you with. Once per game, this thing can blank damage. It's so damn durable that one time when you do get damage through, you're like, all right, I got 5 wounds on it, and he's got a 2-up save and cover, and he took 3 of them. They're 3 damage apiece. I did 9 wounds to it, and he's like, actually, he only did 6. So that's really annoying, but that's all that it does. I think it's actually worse than a Leman Russ for several reasons. One being, it's actually not worse than a Leman Russ at all. It's just better in every way. The only thing that Leman Russes have on it is that their abilities are arguably better. This thing's ability is not bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just that one time you blank damage, fine. It's that thing you get. The Leman Russes have like an active ability where it's like you shoot the same target, you get +1 AP. You shoot the same target, you ignore cover. Like they do something like that. But hey, what do I know? What I do know is that the Avenger Strike Fighter is the last thing I'm going to talk about because it's a flyer, and flyers are horrible in this edition. The only reason we're talking about a flyer is because it's 130 points. It has an insane heavy bolter on it that's 10 shots, strength 6, AP1, damage 2. It's like an Avenger chain gun or something. It has sustained hits 1 on that thing, and it has 2 las cannons and a heavy stubber. So its stats are just normal. It's like T9 with like 10 wounds or something like that. Its stats are irrelevant. They're on screen like every other thing. But damn, does this thing have a lot of shooting. And if this thing is around a unit that dies from a flying attack, so like your Wraiths shoot my stuff or kill my stuff in combat, they immediately get shot back at by this thing. So overall, it doesn't really do all that much besides shoot a whole lot and fly around. Has no OC, it's a flyer, we all know how this work. But no one here can deny that a 130 point, pretty durable vehicle with a 10 shot gun and 2 las cannons that auto shoots back at you when you kill stuff near it with flying, which is like 50% of the units people run. You can't tell me that's not an efficient unit for its cost. Does it play the game well? No. Does it kill stuff? Yes. Can you order it? Yes. You can get it to +1 to hit. So now it's hitting on 3s with 2 las cannons, a 10 shot thing with sustained hits. It'll definitely get through some stuff for sure. Who knows? Maybe you shot the same target with an Exterminator and now you're AP1 extra. So now your 10 shots of strength 6 AP2 and 2 damage with sustained 1, and your las cannons are now AP4. So don't underestimate this thing. You're never going to see them in competitive play, but if you ever do see one, that's what it's going to do. It's going to soak up way more firepower than it rightfully should, and you're only going to kill 130 points, but you'll kill 130 points of good stuff. And so that's really going to cover most of the units that the Imperial Guard will use regularly. Obviously, guys, all of the units in the index have some sort of place in somebody's army somewhere, just not mine. If there's any obvious things that I missed, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. If you good little conscripts like this video, be sure to leave a comment down below, roll over that like button with the force of a Baneblade, subscribe to Theory Hammer, and hit Nurgle's bell, that way you're notified every time we have a new video. When you're done, check out all of our other videos as well. We got all kinds of other content out there, and we make new content regularly. And by the Emperor's good graces, I will leave you with that, and I will see you good little conscripts in the next one.